right, this is Pastor Sincere, and we're doing another session of the conversation with Pastor Sincere. Um, we talk about various different issues. We talk about mental health, we talk about education, general health, theology, religion, and the Bible, financial literacy, race, culture, and class, etc. We want to make sure that we're educating our community. We want to make sure that we are making an impact, and we also want to make sure that we can keep it real and touch those that are looking for the truth in everything that we do. And also, just remember, we want to make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's very important so that we can continue to bring these subject matter experts to help us out on the conversation with Pastor Sincere. And also remember that we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon Music, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and all of your favorite multimedia channels. Well, let's go ahead and get started today. I'm so excited. We have Dr. O in the house. She is an educator. She is also an individual that lives in the state of New York. And so, Dr. O, just tell us about yourself. Tell us about, your childhood a little bit, how you grew up, and how did you get into education?
Okay, thank you, Pastor Sincere. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to have this conversation with you. So, I am a native Texan. I was born up in Bryan, Texas. It's about an hour north of Houston. I grew up in a family that was very spiritual. My grandparents were members of the church. And of course, they you know, made sure that all of us understood the Bible growing up. So, when I'm growing up, I'm growing up with values and certain beliefs and things like that. And I recall being in elementary school with my teachers down in Bryan. And let me tell you something. Those teachers did not play games with us because, as a people, reading has always been a rebellious act, right?
Yes.
So these teachers were not playing with us. And so I want to say my love for school started way back in kindergarten and elementary school with the teachers that
Mm,
I had. And I always loved school, and it was just something that came very natural to be able to succeed and excel in certain areas, specifically literacy. I did move to Houston as a 13-year-old. My family moved to Houston, my mom, and I went to Worthing High School, graduated from Sunnyside High School.
sunny
Graduated from
side, sunny
Sunnyside,
side, sunny side.
Sunnyside, Southside.
Mhm.
So I'm very proud of that. And, and even there, I was able to get inspired by some of the teachers that we had there. And I have an aunt who's about 3 years older than me, and she helped me to get into college after high school. She went to North Texas State University. So I said, that's
Okay.
where I'm going. So it always helps to have someone, in your circle or in your social network that can influence you.
Mhm.
So I went to North Texas and for a year. Then I came back home, went to Houston Community College for a little bit, and then I moved to New York. I met a guy from New York City.
Okay.
We lived in Texas for about 7 years, and then we moved to New York. And here I finished my education. I became a teacher, middle
Mhm.
school literacy coach, assistant principal. And the last 8 years I spent as a principal of a school in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So, I also worked as a adjunct professor at one of the colleges here in New York
Man.
CUNY school. And so I have a background in education, and everything that I speak about in education is from my experience,
Mm.
not my opinion. Because
Right.
you can give your opinion on things, but it's my experience. And so my experience may not be the experience of someone else, but I
Yes.
can only share what I know and what I see works.
Mm.
So I have three children, two grandsons. I'm a widow recently,
Right.
so I'm very happy to have the opportunity to get involved in the conversation with you and even with others. So I thank you again.
Okay, all right. So that's wonderful. I knew I kind of heard a little Texan in your voice. Say
Yeah,
sunny side, Texan
yes.
in your voice. That's awesome. How did you get to the state of New York?
Well, like I said, I met my husband many moons ago. Actually, I can give some dates. I
Mm,
met my husband down in uh oh my God, South Park Village.
okay.
South Park Village. One summer we met, and opposites kind of attract because
Mhm.
he's clearly opposite from me. I'm this Southern girl, quiet, grew up in a household of prayer and singing and devotion, that kind of thing. And he was this wild New Yorker that there was something about him that I hadn't seen before that was attractive. And so we got together and got married, in 1984. We have three children. So he's from New York and I'm from Texas. He moved to Texas when he was about 18, I believe. I met him shortly after. And his mother had real estate in New York.
Okay.
And she said, I need you to come and help me with this real estate that I'm getting together. And so he asked me if would I come. And I had always said, no, I could never raise my kids in New York because I'm a Southern girl. We don't do they like, I don't, it's too much. When I would visit, I would say, oh, this is too much. But
Right.
but in I we were I was able to come on to New York with him and he was able to help his mom with the real estate and whatnot. And that's how I got here. That's how I got here because
Okay.
it was never a dream because
Right.
I always thought I would wind up on the West Coast because more of my family would migrate. That's the way of the railroad.
Right. 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 Right.
Southwest California, right? So, but I've been here now 35 years, almost 35. This June will be 35 years, and it's definitely been a blessing since I've been here.
Oh man, that is awesome. From Texas to New York.
Yeah,
So, education. What are you now that you say that you are retired? That sounds like a good word. One day I'll be there. I'll get there one day.
yeah.
So, what are you doing now? Um,
Right now, I'm volunteering. I'm a member of the PEP. It's called the Panel for Educational Policy. I'm a
mhm.
member of the New York City Public School Board, right?
Oh,
I'm a mayoral appointee. There are about 25 of us, and
mhm.
all of us represent different entities within the city. So you may have representatives from the borough president's office, from Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Staten Island, representing their constituencies. And then you have the mayoral appointees who are representing the mayor. And there are other people that are representing other entities in the city. And what we do, we get presented with different contracts for schools. We discuss curricula. We discuss all kinds of things that the public brings to us to make decisions on. And so right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm serving on the board as a board member for New York City public schools and visiting schools and talking to teachers and mentoring. I have one young lady I'm mentoring who is in a doctoral class. So that's
Okay.
what I'm doing now as I'm retired.
Oh man, so you big time. You she on the board.
Well, I don't know about big time, but that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. So you've spent many of years educating kids, participating in the education system. And so what's going on with our education system right now? What are some of the challenges that you see, and why do you think that there's such a achievement gap with our kids, African American kids?
It's a funny thing because, like as I said before, reading has always been a rebellious act for us, right? They didn't. The ruling class did never wanted us to learn how to read, and we know that if you want to know something, you need to open a book, right?
Right.
And right now, there is a real concern about our children in school because there's research that shows 65 to 85% of fourth graders in our country cannot read.
Whoa.
And you want to say 65% with 84% being Black children.
Whoa.
So 64% includes Latinx kids, Hispanic children, and Black children, right? But then out of that 64%, 84% of our kids can't read. Now, why? Now, as I said to you before, I'm going to give you my opinion of why, okay?
Right.
Because there's not a lot of care
Yes.
in the system, in my opinion, because I feel like when you have a community of care, you're not going to let a child leave your classroom that cannot read.
Right.
And I'm not putting that on teachers, I'm not putting it on administrators. I'm just saying, if we don't take an oath, but you we don't take an outward oath, but you have to have some kind of value system when you are becoming an educator, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And and when you become that educator, you have to say, you know what, I'm going to teach all children, not just the ones that look like me, not just the ones that are rich, not just the ones who have everything. You need to be able to um understand different cultures. That's
Mm.
another problem, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, that's another problem. And Pastor Sincere, back when schools were segregated and then all of that was broken up and da 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 da, many of our Black teachers lost their jobs,
Mm.
right?
Wow.
A lot of them lost their jobs because I remember being bussed across town in the 6th grade. Never saw my teachers again that I had in my Black school.
Mm.
Never saw them ever again. I don't know what happened to them. Even I said to my mother, whatever happened to Miss Daniels or Miss Callion or Miss Hall? I never saw them again in schools teaching.
Wow.
And so we didn't have this gap back then. Why? Because Miss Callion said, sit down here and read this book.
Yes.
You're not going, no, read this story. So I find, in my own opinion, that that's not happening anymore. Oh, you don't
Mm.
get it? You're not reading it? Okay, well, we got to go on to the next thing. We don't, there's so much around accountability now.
Mm.
So it used to be qualitative.
Right.
You know,
Right.
feeling, you guys all right? We're going to take this test. We're going to do this, rah, rah, rah. Now it's all quantitative, uh,
Mm.
all about the numbers. So
Yes.
in my opinion, it's the care, it's the cultural irresponsiveness of who
Mm.
we have teaching our kids. And and I'll have to say that it's, sometimes legislatures, are moving a little slow with some of the things that they could do to support our children.
Right. That's one of the things that I experienced working in the school system as a volunteer, mentoring kids. We've mentored a plethora of kids over the last 7 or 8 years with our Gents and Gems program. And we taught the kids about business, entrepreneurship, cultural competency, and diversity, and STEM and robotics, and social emotional learning. And in that, one of the things that I noticed was a lack of cultural competency, cultural sensitivity, and cultural humility
Mm-hmm.
regarding our kids. And so a lot of the programming, the interaction, even if some of it was some of our African American teachers, just they were not equipped to deal with um, um, helping our kids within the cultural environment, especially within urban areas, et cetera, whatnot. It was really, really challenging to try to get those kids help. And the other thing is that we noticed that a lot of the kids, some of those kids experience trauma. They were having a trauma response. And my question was this, and then I'm going to ask you this question: how do teachers know or principals know the difference between a child that has experienced trauma versus a child is just being a renegade or just acting out? What
Mm-hmm.
are teachers equipped for that?
Some are equipped for it. But you have to have that, that radar, that radar to really detect certain things, because you can see a child who is sitting in class who never talks,
Mm.
who's always late to school, who doesn't have any friends. There are signs that will let you know that something is going on abnormally with this particular child. And
Mm.
you have to make sure that they are seen, because too many of our kids are invisible within classroom structure, where people just don't even see them. Oh, he's always late. Oh, he's always sleeping. Oh, he's all. And you can't do that. But we when we are trained in, cultural sensitivity and all of these things. But as people, we bring our biases,
Yes.
we bring our own experiences and our own perspective to certain things. And if you think that this these particular people or this culture is whatever it is, that's what you're going to think, regardless of your training. Yeah, I'm going to go through this training because I'm trying to become a teacher, I'm trying to become a doctor, but that still
Right.
doesn't ease what you really feel about this child or this teacher.
Right. Right. Right.
Yes, it could be your colleagues too, because some colleagues, some of their colleagues are really rough in there too. When they see things that's not going the way they think it should, they will speak up too. But
Mm.
there should be some some more deep training on being culturally responsive, because too many of our children who are being disciplined in school look like me and you.
Yes.
Other kids
Yes.
do the same thing, but then our kids are getting sent out, yelled at, all kind of things are happening to our children when they're in some of these schools, and it's just not right.
Yes, yes, and that's a major problem here in Texas, even within Fort Bend County, where we live at, in terms of disproportionality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Justice Department, and I think it was the National Board of Education, actually put Fort Bend ISD under some type of program to monitor their disproportionality rates, because they were disciplining African American kids at a higher rate than their peers or Caucasian kids. And so that's something that we got to make sure that we keep our eye on, because you know our kids are being sent to juvie and catching cases, and then other kids are not catching those cases. And the other thing that I notice is that it's a lot easier to do that with kids that are disabled,
Mm-hmm.
as well as kids of color. And so um, are y'all addressing that in the state of New York?
We are addressing this in New York. I do know that for me, I would not ever put up with any of that as a principal. And we would always use a researcher. There's this an author, Ruby Payne. I don't know, you maybe have heard
Yeah,
of
I
her.
read all her books,
The books, okay. There's
all of them years ago.
that talks about understanding. She talks about the wealth class. She has middle class and she has low class. It doesn't say low
Yeah,
class, but a
yeah.
lower. And there is this survey that you can take to see, you're talking about our kids that are from, low income, socioeconomic, status. Take this middle school survey, take this wealth survey. How does that make you feel? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So you have to make sure, and so for me as a principal, and I know that many of my colleagues, we fight for our children as
Mm,
well, right? When we because I had this experience once where someone wanted to call CPS on a child for a particular reason. I think I spoke to you about this, and so I
yeah,
was trying to understand why are you calling? Like, I couldn't understand why she wanted to call, because to me, I understood it was a cultural thing that
yes.
I understood. It's almost like on Facebook, they have this thing called Soul School, and this lady's asking all these questions, to see if you can get them right. And she asked the the people, if I said to you, who is Mama Nim, would you know who that is? A lot of people said no, but we said, of course, we know who Mama Nim are. So
Yes.
it's those kind of little things that came up in that situation. And I said, no, we're not calling CPS on that. And I
Mm,
explained why. And she was like, oh, I didn't understand. So we do have that in our city, where we're being taught to be culturally sensitive. But
right,
again, when you go in your classroom and you're in there by yourself and you close the door, let's make sure it's continually happening the way that we want it to happen.
right. Now, I'm a big advocate for public schools. I believe in public schools, to a certain point. I believe in public schools. But lately I've been really struggling because um a lot of the stuff that's happening here in Texas with the more conservative politicians and legislature.
Mm,
Um, there's a lot of policies that are being implemented, like school vouchers. They really don't want to focus on any race whatsoever. Um, they just want to say they really are looking to be colorblind instead of looking at uh, um, and assessing to see whether or not uh, we have disproportionality within our school system. They just want to say academics. If the kids are getting their academics and we're training them um, academically, then that's all we need to look at. And so
mm.
here again, I think that cultural sensitivity piece is really important. But I'm starting really to believe, and you've heard me say this before, that if all possible, we need to start our own schools with the curriculum that is designed to reach the needs of our kids within our culture. And here again, let me say this because I'm a pastor. I love everybody. Okay. I love everybody. But I think that some of the deficits and some of the things that are happening right now, it's not really benefiting our kids, and our kids seem kind of lost in a system that is not designed for them. What do you think about that?
I would agree with that. I know that before I retired, something was implemented in the Department of Education here in New York, and it was called a 365 Black History curriculum. Right?
Mm,
And we were so excited about that. I don't know how it's going now that I'm not there, but there was certainly a conversation early on about the need for something like that so that our children could be engaged. Because
yes.
again, if you don't see yourself, then you're disengaged
Yes.
in everything. But I do believe that we need to be more cognizant of
Mm-hmm.
who is sitting in front of us and who is in our school system.
Right.
We have 1.1 million children in our school system in New York, right?
Mm,
And they're from all walks of life, and so our curricula should speak to that. Now, as far as us, we having our own schools, I'm for that. I went to a school until I was in sixth grade,
wow.
and I'm going to tell you something. I remember everything from kindergarten to fifth.
Mm,
Fifth grade, we were bust across town. I don't recall sixth grade too much. I was a little invisible there. Seventh grade, another school. Eighth grade, another school. Ninth grade, I moved to Houston and went to Woodson, right off
okay.
Scott Street, right? And I was like,
Okay. Scott
oh,
Street.
yes, the teachers in wasn't playing. Oh, this is what I know. Went to Word and saw the good thing. So yes, because we know how to say what's going on.
Mm,
Think again, try it again. We're not going to give up on our children because we want them to be able to think out of the box and to be problem solvers. Some people don't have that patience because they think that's how you are, but
right. Right.
but it isn't. You know,
Yes.
we come from kings and queens. So how
Mm,
all of a sudden we, dropped all of that?
yes.
You know,
Yes.
so I do believe we can do that, and I think that it gives me great pride when I get invited back to my former school and the kids are running, oh, Principal Odwin, oh, Dr. Oh, it gives me so much pleasure to see that because I want to say that I was able to connect
Yes.
with them on a level that maybe some other people could not.
Right.
In whatever capacity, as a female, as being black, as living in South Jamaica, because it was Bed-Stuy,
Mm,
being from the 80s and the 90s, not being scared, like whatever it
yes.
is, telling a big, tall 6-footer, come here, baby shark.
Mm,
And then you build relationships, and that's basically what we need to do. And what we had in our schools when I was coming up, we had an ecology
mm,
being nurtured, right? Like you nurture a
yes.
garden, you pour water in it. If you take Pastor Sincere, if you take, and I told my daughter this, who's a teacher, I said, if you take a flower and you have been watering that flower every day, put it in the sun, put it in the sun. If you take it home and put it in the closet, what's going to happen to it?
Yes.
It's going to stop growing. So we have to not only teach our teachers and teach our students to think, we have to teach our parents as well some of the
Yes.
things that they can do at home. Because guess what? Some kids can't read. We know they can't read, but guess what? There's environmental print all around the world. I bet if I took my grandson somewhere, he could say, oh, can we go to McDonald's?
Right. Right.
Environmental print. Oh, Taco Bell, environmental print. If you can't, read with them, point out what's in your neighborhood, so that they'll get the gist of what that's all about, because
Yes.
that's important.
Yeah. So let's get down and dirty. Let's get to the real stuff in terms of this. And I know that the last time that I talked to you about this, you were um, hotter than fish grease, right? I mean,
Uh-oh.
you was really talking about it. So, what is your opinion concerning Project 2025?
Oh, it's something that we really have to pay attention to. Those of us who are educators, we need to make sure that some of the things that we've been reading about do not come to pass, right?
Mm,
Because, like we said, those children who are in public school, and especially those children who are our vulnerable populations, are going to suffer if this new administration implement some of the things that they're talking about. Number one, oh, if you don't teach this type of history that makes the Americas look good, then you're not
oh,
going to get any funding. You can't
wow.
teach that. You can't teach slavery like that. You need to teach slavery, and say that they learned carpentry,
Yes,
and that there's something good came out of all of that oppression and all of that racism that we as a people have incurred by being here in this country. So they
yes,
don't want us teaching that. Why? Because this makes us feel bad. Well, guess what? When I looked at Emmett Till the other day, it made me feel bad.
yeah, yes.
Okay. And so, that's one thing. And then, of course, we're reading about the children who are in private in public schools, in middle schools, are now having to, and we don't know, I don't know if this is true, but there's all kind of rumors. When we build our military, those children who are in public school are going to be the ones who are going to be pulled and mandated to go to the military to fight for us when
Wow.
they get 18. Now, who's in the public schools? We know who's in the public schools. After Reconstruction, a lot of those schools, they went private, right?
Yes,
We were the ones in the one room schoolhouses, 40 kids, 40 during the day, 60 at night. And so I don't know, why do you want to do that? So this means that all the children who have an opportunity to go to private school won't have to
mhm,
worry about that.
yes, yes.
Worry about that thing, and it's just so many things that's wrong with this picture. And then I'm understanding that the person that is being selected to lead the Department of Education, Secretary of Education, doesn't
Mhm.
even have doesn't even have a bachelor's degree in education.
What?
My understanding is this person, I think it's Mahan.
Mm,
I can't think of the young lady's name, but I understand that she has a degree in English and French or something like that. But how are you going to lead a division and you don't have any experience in that division?
wow.
Or are you doing it just to be loyal to whomever? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said on the conversation with Pastor Sincere, we keep it real. Um, and here again, there's a lot of concern about them doing away with the Department of Education and all of these things that really seem somewhat extreme um, in terms of saying that we want to shrink the size of government and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that a lot of people are very, very suspicious concerning what the real agenda is
Mm-hmm.
regarding what the Trump, and I'll say it, Trump administration is really doing. And so this whole thing with the Project 2025, I think can be very dangerous for our kids. And the question for uh, lower income people, like what you said, individuals that are not in private schools, the fear that I have, the question that I have is, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to fight and protect for the most vulnerable in this country and help those that need it the most, to make sure that they are not being discriminated against, or the achievement gap is just getting larger and larger.
We have to make sure that these conversations are being had, make sure the podcasts are getting out there, make sure that we are informing our parents of their rights. Because I used to say to my parents all the time, you have all the power.
Right.
Yes, I'm the principal of the school, but guess what? You can march down to wherever you need to march down to get things done. And I
Mm.
think that that's what we need to do. Like in terms of what I'm doing now, when something is going wrong in a school, those parents are at those meetings speaking to the school board to say
Wow.
this is going on in this school. This principal has done this, or this is happening. Oh, why don't my school have this particular funding? Or how can we get? You need to be able to go to those local community meetings and speak up,
Yes.
because it will make a difference. Because if you're going to a school board, or you're going to some other entity that's in control of one of these type of districts, then you got to make your the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Right, right,
If
right.
we can't be passive in this thing, my all three of my children went to public school K through 12, and they all are college graduates. But I didn't play any games.
Mm.
When I went into the schools, I wanted to know X, Y, and Z, right?
Right.
And when they had a meeting, I had to make sure that I was there. But then we understand too that some of our parents are really struggling, just trying to keep a roof over their head,
Yes.
and they don't have time for that. But so then we have to find a way to get them involved and get this information to them.
Yes.
Whatever you need to do, if you got to give away a television, or give away something to get them in, or have dinner, because we used to have dinner at my school for parents who would work and come in, and we would have these sessions where we'd talk about different things that were happening that they need to know about. And
Yes.
so we need to just make sure that and again, all of the people who we are voting for,
Right.
like your councilmen, we always want to vote for the president, right? We want to vote, we're going to vote for the governor. What about your assemblywoman,
Yes.
or your assemblyman, or your senator, or your congressperson? What else about those people, your police chief
Mm.
in your neighborhood? How many people are going, even involved in that? Not a lot. Not a lot of people. So we need to make sure that everyone knows all of these people that they can go to express their concerns with that. And then on top of that, like you're saying, provide something for us,
Yes.
for our own. That's how we're going to do it.
Yes. Yes. And so, that's one of the reasons why, with Fort Bend Transformation Church and Unity Worship Center, which I'm the pastor of those churches, why we're trying to not only just create a church or build our church, but we're trying to create a Christian institution so
Mm-hmm.
that we can address these systemic issues, the issues that impact the most vulnerable in the community, education sessions. We have our apartment ministry where we're starting to provide wraparound services. We want to be able to set up tutorials
Mm-hmm.
and advocacy work. Right, we talked about that advocacy work. A lot of the sessions, the art meetings, that kind of stuff. Parent teacher conferences are on Zoom now or
Yes.
on
Yes,
Teams, and so
that's
we can have educators like yourself, different individuals come in and schedule and attend those with parents. And
absolutely.
and the other thing is, the thing that I've really been focusing on is the delivery model. That's why we're on YouTube. That's why
Mm-hmm.
we're on Spotify. You can get the information on Amazon Music, iHeart, a radio,
Mm-hmm.
and try to make sure that we can get where people. You may have a difficult time getting people to come to a general session or meeting or something, but as long as they have their phones,
Mm-hmm.
if I can send it to you, and you can get it on your phone, and at least we can ice break these concepts so that we can get people to the bigger meetings and
Mm-hmm.
educate them where we're at. The other thing that I really believe in is local. local advocacy and local autonomy. A community can only be as strong as the institutions within that community. And that's
Mm.
like what you're saying. No vote, no hope.
Yeah,
You
don't
don't vote,
complain. Yeah.
there is no hope. So let me ask you, this question. Um, do you think that one of the issues with education, especially within urban areas or economically disadvantaged areas, um, there are people that say that money is not the problem, so we don't need to give any more money. What's your opinion on that?
So again, my opinion, we know we always need money. I mean, but we know that there's always a lack of resources when it comes to our children because it appears that we have money for everything else in our society, but for our children, right?
Yes.
And I just believe if we could get 40 children in a one-room schoolhouse,
Mm,
right, with one teacher and two books in 1838 or whatever, 1860 or whatever, you know what I'm, if we
right.
can do that and the children excel, is it money that we
Yes.
need? Yes, it is, but no, it isn't.
Right.
Right? You need the right person in front of those children to ensure that they're going to get what they need to get. That's what you need to do. I mean, 40 kids in a schoolhouse, probably no heat, you know, cracks in the floor, but they're reading and
Yes.
they're learning and they want to be there. And not only that, the parents are coming at night to learn to
Yes.
read. And so, is it money or is it the people we have sitting in front of children? Is it the people that are making decisions for our children? What is it
Right.
exactly? So, again, these, in my opinion, because I've seen schools where there's been a lack of funding that are doing well.
Right.
We know there's a lack of funding, but the person who's sitting in the seat that's making things happen know how to navigate and manipulate that budget so that you can get what you need to get for your children,
Right. So
right?
this is one of my pet peeves because you're hitting on it now. Now I'm starting to feel some of that righteous indignation, right? So, you know, coming out of slavery during Reconstruction, that's when we were really educating kids. We started our own schools coming out of slavery,
That's right. That's
right? And the kids would go to school during the daytime, and the adults would go to school at night, right? So they had adult education as
hmm
well as education for the kids.
that's right.
And so we have, oh, here it goes. I can feel it. I start feeling it come. We have more uh, educators. We have more education as people of color, as Black people, than any other time in history, right? And so one of my concerns with that is um, cultural cohesiveness,
hmm
right?
hmm
Is one of the obstacles and challenges of us coming together. We're stronger together, like they did during Reconstruction. One of the challenges is us being able to work together and not work independently. And I'll give you this real quick
Yeah.
example, right? Real quick, because I'm working with our church on this. We live in an age of individuality. That's just the age that we live in. People are dealing with stigmas. They want to do it on their own. But that's not going to help us get where we need to go. Now, I believe in personal agency,
hmm
but everyone else is doing it, right? Other
hmm
cultures are doing it. The level of our cultural cohesiveness, coming together and building institutions,
hmm
having autonomy within our communities is something that I think that we really need to work on. So I seen you getting riled up. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Pastors
No,
like to talk a
no,
lot.
No, that's fine. No, I was going to say that I agree with you very much. We talk about getting our children ready for the 21st century, right? Well,
Yes.
guess what? The 21st century is all about collaboration.
Yes.
That's what it's about. Like you were talking about individualism, we're talking about collectivism.
Yes.
Collectively we can do this. Collectively we can do that. But right now, you got this person, oh, I think it should be this way. Oh, I think no, let's work together so that all of us can, shine because we all bring something special to the table. Let's do that. And I was going to tell you that I saw this debate the other day. It was an affirmative action debate, and a debate on why we should have it and why we shouldn't. And there were some, and it was at Harvard. And some of them were saying, well, yeah, there's been racial oppression and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. They did the opportunity. And then the other side was like, well, why does race have to be an issue? But let me say this: since this issue with affirmative action has gone so far, HBCUs have seen its greatest enrollment in their history.
Wow.
In the history of
Wow.
HBCUs, they have seen more people coming into their institutions than before.
Mm.
Than before. And we know that we talk about the 1800s. The first college for Black people, a university, was Cheney College in 1838. Then we
Mm.
had another college where it was a college where they started giving out degrees, 1850 something. Then there was
Mm.
another HBCU, all in Pennsylvania and Ohio, Wilberforce University, all up north. And so, we want to go to school, we want to learn, but we need to have those people who understand who we are as learners before we'll
Yes.
be able to make any kind of leeway with our children. You got to understand the child is coming in. First of all, if a child is coming into you in the morning and he's not doing anything, find out, did he eat breakfast?
Right.
I mean, it's not rocket scientist. I don't have to have a doctorate to speak about care. You know,
Yes.
you're going to ask the question. You're going to see if he's hungry. You're going to have something in there for the children if they need it. But we need to make sure that we are on the same page, working with other people to make sure that these things can happen for our kids.
Right. Right.
We
So
can't do it by ourselves.
so let's, because here again, we want to make sure that we are keeping it real, and I'm trying to tap into that educational background that you have, and that mind that you have, and all those years and experience that you have, as much as possible.
Yeah.
Based on your experience, because you kind of alluded to it earlier, concerning our kids and education, um, does it really matter? Does race in this country, um, should we be colorblind?
You
Does
can't. No. No, because then you are falling right into the you're still. So if you are colorblind, you something's wrong with you.
mm,
You must see me as a Black woman. You
yes,
must see me as a Black woman of a certain age.
right,
You must see me as a Black woman who's a grandma. You can't. So I've heard people say, because I don't see color, then something's wrong with you.
right.
You got to see color. You got to see that I speak differently in certain situations. You have to see that I look differently. You have to see that my hair is different. You have to see that I'm different from you. You mean you don't see color?
Right, right,
I think that's a farce. Anyone who says that, they are delusional,
right, right, right.
right? Because you have to see. You're not colorblind. That doesn't make sense to me.
So, how do you think that ideology impact our kids' uh, identity when, on one side, we have all of these different policies and different things that they're implementing, but then on the other side, we want to pretend like we're colorblind, and there goes back to the cultural sensitivity. Um, I tend to say, we don't want to be colorblind. We want to be culturally sensitive and
Yes.
culturally competent about that people are different. And we should embrace that we're different, that we're not the same. God created us to be different. right? There are 12 tribes,
Mm-hmm.
Israel, right? He didn't
Mm-hmm.
say there was just one tribe.
That's right.
So, I'm really concerned about the how our kids identify living in this social construct that has been created for us. And I want to preface it by saying this one thing and just put it out there in the atmosphere. I remember back in the day when I was younger that um, there was this test that they did
Hmm.
called the white dog. It was the white dog. I don't know the technical name for it, but the white
Mm-hmm.
dog, black dog test.
Mm-hmm.
And it impact the way African American kids, and then I think that they conducted the test a couple of times throughout the years. The kids of color, even our Hispanic kids, how they identify, right, who they are and how they perceive themselves. And so, based on your educational background and the years of experience that you have you seen that impact kids?
Yes. Yes, I've
Yes,
seen that. Because the thing is, our children, they are children and they're looking to find their way, right?
right.
And we as adults have to lead them on that path that is a path of learning. And when you are talking to a child and a child has done something and you're talking to the child and you won't let the child talk or speak, that's a problem.
Yes,
What does it do to our children? It doesn't give them the confidence to advocate for themselves.
right.
They don't know the words to use to advocate for themselves, or they just go, forget it. You know how often I've had to, a child is brought to me and I'm like, what happened? So and so and so. That's it. Forget about it. Tell me
Oh
what's
yeah.
going on. But because you've been cut off from talking,
Mm,
nobody wants to hear what you have to say. You now can't say anything. You now can't talk. You cannot advocate for yourselves. And I'm going to tell you something. Early on in my career, kids had to walk a straight line. They had to listen to the teacher. But as you grow over time, I mean, they should still listen to you because we're not going to let them get hurt. But we're all in this together because some of
right.
those same children can teach me something. My grandson tells me things. I'm like, what? So we can't treat our children as though they cannot learn. We
Right.
cannot treat them just because they come from some place that we may not have come from, that they cannot learn, right? Because some of us who are teachers came from the same background
Yes.
that some of them, and we can identify that. And when we do, we really go hard in making sure that that particular child or those particular children are seen and are heard, and understand that your blackness is unique.
Right.
This is a unique thing. Look at that melanin in your skin. What's melanin? There's a lesson to be learned in that, and
Right.
everything. So we just have to make sure that we are talking the talk, walking the walk, and not being misleading to our children,
Right.
because we don't want them, even with my grandson, I said when teachers, because he'll come home and tell us everything that's happening. And I will say what I say to him. I mean, I'm not going to say it right here, right now. But the thing is, I want to know what's going on. And when I know, I'm going to speak on it,
Right.
because I don't want it to be, I'm just going to say, my grandson in kindergarten, every day I went to the school, every day the teacher had something bad to say. Every day, every day, every day. He was running. He was looking out the window. He was picking up a paper. Number one, he's a boy. Do we know the science about boys and how they learn? Number two, do we know the science about black boys and how they learn?
Right.
Do we
Right.
know the boys need to run and jump and play and crawl and jump out the window? And he's not going to sit like a little white girl. He's not. He just
Mm,
can't. He just can't do it. So we have to know and understand our children so that we can lead them in a way that our teachers and our mothers and our grandmothers and grandfathers led us.
right.
And if you don't know, find out.
Right.
Come and ask the question. Don't just think because they're kids and I'm a grown up, I know the answer. Not always, because you come with your biases in here talking to these kids like this. Don't do that.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
then they'll say these kids. Yeah, because these kids, what, our kids?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
These are our kids. I was in a, yeah, these are our kids.
Right.
And so we just as adults have to make sure that If somebody is someplace, you, me, and somebody is doing something wrong to our children, we have to speak up.
Yes.
Wherever it is, in the store, whatever it is, on the street, wherever it is, in the schools specifically. But no, we can't let people get away with this, this idea that you know, you know, you don't have what it takes to be, you know, anything more than what you see in your community is sometimes, you know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but yeah, I just think that we need to continue to make sure that we are leading them in the path, and every day tell them how beautiful they are and where they come from,
Mm,
and all of those things, just the beauty, and just telling them who they are and where they come from. And you can't let anybody say anything to you that is different than what I'm telling you right now.
that's right. That's
They
right.
can say, no, Dr. Odwin said, that's right, I said it. And who gonna check me, boo?
That's right. We got to stand. We have to stand.
You gotta
We have
stand.
to stand. So I'm so glad that you are on our team. I'm so glad that I had an opportunity to meet you, and
Thank you.
I seen your passion from the beginning, and so that's right.
Let's go.
We have to fight, right? So
Out there and fight for our
keep hope
kids.
alive. Keep hope
Yeah.
alive.
No, that's right, because we can actually do it. It doesn't have to be, it's not a big task. You've already started it. You have the foundation. I mean, you have more than a foundation. Um, and I'm just looking forward to doing, some things with you guys. I'm just happy to be a part of this. I really appreciate it. I really do. It's giving me something. I don't know what it is, but it's something. I can't think of the word for it, but it's giving me something.
Mhm. Amen. So I know that we have some more sessions scheduled. Um, would love for you to be a regular on the
Sure.
conversation with Pastor Sincere, so we can just have a conversation, and then make sure that we get it out concerning these concerns that we have and what we're going to do about it. And here again, I just want to thank you. Thank you for being on our strategic planning committee, helping us lead our education programs as we're beginning to develop those for our young people.
Mhm.
And stay warm in the state of New York. Is it snowing?
It snowed on Sunday, I believe, and it's very, very cold out there. It feels like 8 degrees. The wind is the
Oh,
hawk. The hawk is out, so we know what that means. The hawk is out for sure.
all right. Well, this is Pastor Sincere with the conversation with Pastor Sincere. And we just want to thank Dr. O for being with us today. She laid some knowledge on us and some passion. And that's what we need in order to be able to help our kids. We need to have this conversation. We need to be transparent about having this conversation. And we all need to be able to get up and not only just have the conversation, but we need to do something about it, right?
That's right.
We need to
That's
get active. We need to be a part of. We don't all have to do the same thing, but we all need to do something. Remember, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We work hard to get individuals like Dr. O on our channel to talk about these various different issues. And remember that you can find us definitely on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Amazon Music and iHeartRadio and many other platforms. We want to make sure that we're getting this information out to you. And I'm going to remind you again, please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can continue to bring these programs to you. Y'all know how YouTube is. You're at the bottom of the poll if you're not getting subscribers. So please help us out. We want to thank you, Dr. O, for joining us today. God bless you and bless your family. Thank you for inviting us into your house. Power
Thank
to
you.
the people. Keep hope alive.
Yes, thank you so much. Take care.
All right.
All right. See you
All right.
soon. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye-bye.